I have a question for you. Could your pelvic floor also be an emotional organ? Well, let's dive into this. Hey guys, I'm Lauren Roxburgh. I am a board certified structural integration practitioner and a pelvic floor specialist. And I have been helping empower people with their pelvic floors and really true body empowerment for over 20 years. So I'm really excited to dive in deeper about this topic with our community and also just with anyone that's interested in wanting to learn more about how their body works and to be able to be better at kind of dealing with stress and stressful things that arise in our lives. Okay, so let's dive into this. So the pelvic floor as an emotional organ. What does that even mean? Like it's a sense organ essentially. It could be even like the mirror of your soul, or kind of it gives you, it's like a navigation system. I've called the pelvic floor like a stress on-off button before. You guys have probably heard me say that before, and that is very true. But a lot of times people don't even realize that your body is subconsciously clutching or bearing down or opening and kind of being more receptive in certain situations. So it's like it almost, when you tap into this area of your body, you start to realize it gives you this other sense of intuition and instincts. Okay, so if you are interested, I mean, some people are coming for the pelvic floor course on just wanting to fix their biomechanics. Hopefully they won't be having incontinence or pain during sex, but there's a whole nother level of consciousness and awareness that can be harnessed in this part of your body. So what is the pelvic floor? It's a group of muscles that are at the base of our core with connective tissue weaving around it. It basically connects the sits bones to each other, your sitting bones, your pubic bone, and your tailbone. And if we didn't have the pelvic floor, organs would just basically drop out of us. So sometimes I like to call it the pelvic core. So if you're having issues in your back, if you feel like you have a weak core, typically the pelvic floor can play a huge piece in lower back pain or a weak core, or even bloating, even having like a pooched belly or gut issues as well. So we dive into all of this in the course, which we'll be able to unpack more when we go deeper into the actual practical movement parts. Okay, so Western medicine really talks about the pelvic floor. It's group of muscles. It's also a region of the body. This is what all the medical textbooks say. It creates support for the body. It also has an impact for stability and mobility, and also for passing things through us, right? It's another area where we pass things through our bodies. And obviously it has an impact for sex as well, for entry. So exit and entry. Now, what's also super important, which you won't find this conversation in very many places, but that it plays a huge impact on our emotional state. And so it's really incredible because our emotional state is, we need to start realizing that a lot of times we don't realize it, that we're constantly clutching and bearing down in our pelvic floor. And so what's really exciting to me about that is when you start to realize, oh my gosh, I am totally squeezing my pelvic floor right now. And then what you're doing when you squeeze it, it's fine to do it every once in a while. When you become aware of it, you might be doing it all the time. And what you don't realize is that there is a direct line of fascia that goes from your pelvic floor all the way through your spine to your jaw, and then it's locking your jaw. So when we have a tight pelvic floor, we typically have a tight jaw. But also what's happening between that, right? So a tight stomach. So a lot of times, we've been told growing up, suck your belly in, suck your belly in. That can create a lot of tension, which then makes everything feel more compressed and tight, and then we disconnect from our gut instincts. So there's where the emotional piece is so important. Not only that, as we work our way up to our lungs and our diaphragm. So our diaphragm is kind of a mirror of the pelvic floor. It's another kind of hammock, but it's upside down, or a dome, I should say, a dome-shaped muscle in the dome of the pelvic floor. So the diaphragm one would be, upside down, and the pelvic floor would be right side up, like a bowl like that. Okay, so when our diaphragm is really tight, and again, when your pelvic floor is tight, most likely your diaphragm is going to be tight as well. You're not going to be able to breathe properly or expansively, which then can also affect sort of what inspires you, right? So inspiration and respiration, being able to take a full expansive breath is actually so important. Well, obviously everyone knows how important breath work is, but it's so important for being able to live more deeply and more expansively, right? So the way we breathe is the way we live. So opening up and connecting to the pelvic floor will also help you open up and connect to your diaphragm and help you breathe deeper. So I like to also consider the pelvic floor, we're talking about it as an emotional organ or a sense organ. It's also incredibly important. It's a breathing muscle. So when the pelvic floor is tight and bound and hypertonic, it's going to impact how well you breathe. And so many of the breathwork teachers out there never even talk about the pelvic floor. So I always find that quite interesting as well. So that's why it's really fun to bring the pelvic floor into all these other layers that, are kind of trending right now in the world. Breathwork, having a strong core, wanting to banish back pain, jaw issues, tuning into your gut instincts, your intuition, and those types of things. Now, the other area that gets impacted from a tight pelvic floor is our shoulders and our heart, okay? So anytime that line is tight and pulling, it's gonna pull also the heart area as well. And as we know, the heart has a toro field of energy. So when our area of our heart is really tight and our shoulders are rounded forward, it's sort of dulling your energy, your magnetic field, your ability to basically send out good energy to the world as well. Okay, so that's a really important piece. And as we start to open and create space in the body, specifically pelvic floor and hips, the heart and chest open up. And then you actually start to enhance your posture and also your confidence as well. And then of course we make our way up to the jaw, the head, neck, and jaw. And so the head, neck, and jaw are super important for being able to speak our truth and not swallow our emotions. And so when we start to let go of the pelvic floor, we're able to actually be more connected to our true voice and our authenticity as well. The emotional pieces are so, if people want to go there, then I'm here for it. So I have found that doing the work with my pelvic floor and doing the work of working with my fascia has really enhanced my overall sensory awareness. And like I've mentioned this before, but I have this like kind of kinesthetic intelligence where I feel through my hands, which is why I kind of found my purpose when I decided to become a structural integration body worker. But even after becoming that and deepening my awareness and all of this, and I think a lot of people are feeling this right now on the planet, but understanding and connecting more deeply to my body's sensations into the present moment and realizing that we have these navigation systems within us, through our gut instincts and our intuition, and now knowing that in our pelvic floor is another kind of navigation system as well. So I just thought this would be kind of fun to be able to help you guys kind of understand some more of the secrets of the pelvic floor, because I think people just think, oh yeah, I just want to like not pee my pants. But there's a lot more going on in this area. And not only that, it's also the area where we hold all of our creative energy. And when we unlock it, it can really help activate more of that creative energy, not just the creative energy of creating life, but about the energy of creative ideas, innovations, charisma, connection, sort of that radiance that shows up. It's a magnetic quality. And so when you start to unwind that clutching, that bearing down, that subconscious kind of fight or flight and freeze that locks up the jaw, the pelvic floor, the knuckles, the hips, the lower back, all of those good things, or all of those tight things, I should say, we really start to kind of come into more of the flow in our body. And then we can actually start to realize that when we have hurdles or walls showing up, we start to go, okay, so I'm going to take a deep breath. Find my feet, find my tripod foot, pinky toe, and heel, contract my pelvic floor, and then relax it and take a moment, feel into what am I feeling right now? Is this resistance that I'm coming up to? Is this something that I need to actually look at and navigate and go in a different direction? Same thing with like meeting a new person. You walk into a room, you can actually immediately feel it. Do you feel like you have to squeeze your belly in? Do you feel that contraction in the pelvic floor? Is that energy right for you or is it wrong? So it's a beautiful tool to be able to really give you this other level of awareness and consciousness, and also more joy and sensuality and pleasure in really just starting to live in that part of your body again. So I'm super excited to share more about this. I think you'll really understand this conversation even more when you start doing the practical work of just getting the neuromuscular connections back into the pelvic floor, and then you start to realize and feel into living in that part of your body again, that embodiment piece. So I'm super excited to share this with you all. So join us for the Awaken the Power of Your Pelvic Floor course if you want to go deeper. And I will also be going live with you guys and be holding space for all of your deep questions. So let's do this, you guys, and I will see you soon. All right, take care. Bye-bye.